Hi and welcome to day 4 of week 4 of training cycle 2 of 2021. Today I did something intelligent. Instead of training late in the evening, I decided to train around midday, 2 o'clock in the afternoon. That's a lot better than 2 a.m., which I've done those 2 a.m.s, not during this training cycle maybe, but I have done them previously. And I do know that they don't help me whatsoever. It's stupid, because what happens when you train late at night is you're slow, you're lethargic, you take long breaks between sets, you watch YouTube between sets, you just want to sleep, and now your workout, which could have taken, 2 hours, 2.5 hours, now it's going to take 4 hours, just because you're slow. And, that's 2 hours off your sleep, or at least 1 hour less sleep. Now you consider you keep using that stupid phone for an extra hour afterwards, just bullshitting, right? Now you took 2 hours off tomorrow's sleep. So you're going to sleep in further, and then you're going to do the same cycle tomorrow, but you're going to do it even worse. So today I broke the cycle. Now, it isn't a one-time thing. I'm going to have the same discipline tomorrow, and the day after that, and the day after that. It's going to continue this way. But pretty soon, I'm going to be back in school, and school does give a higher level of responsibility, and it gives me a true solid reason to train at good times, because if I don't, I'm going to be so exhausted in school, which, by the way, that second rep was really bad. I good morning dit by accident, which wasn't good, but luckily it's only 100. It's not my max. And by the way, guys, I always say that 1 rep maxes are very safe compared to 3 rep and 5 rep maxes. And I still stand by that, Anywhere in between 2 and 5 reps for absolute maximums is very dangerous. Case in point, here. I failed 95 kilos 2 times today on the bench press. And even if I failed it, 0 injuries. Nowhere close to being injured. However, the difference between failing, say, a 1 rep max versus a 2, 3, 4, or 5 rep max is that both are heavy. Yes, the 1 rep max is actually heavier. But if you look here, look at how I fail this. I fail it in the groove, right? When you get tired, the weight slips out of the groove, out of your optimal groove. Basically, the weight moves too far forwards, too far back, it tilts to the side, it shifts, it dips. 1 more attempt, that's what I said there. Little did I know I was going to do 2 more attempts. But my point here is, form breakdown is what's dangerous. Form breakdown under heavy loads is even more dangerous. Because what is dangerous is when you put a lot of pressure or a lot of pulling force on a tendon. Now, you can do that with both lifting very heavy, lifting very explosively, doing fast negatives. You can do that with bad form. All of those things can contribute to how much force is going through a tendon. And that is how you injure things, that's how you tear things. So, if you look at this here, that was a fast negative, yes, but I did hit pretty much the correct groove. Now, if you fail a lift, say, on the bench press, or even worse, on the squat, with, say, a 3 rep max, you fail the 3rd rep, what's going to happen? It might drift too far down on your body on a max bench press for 3 reps. It might drift too far up, which is much worse. Now you might drop it on your upper chest or neck, right? That can happen if your triceps run out of steam. On a squat, it's even worse, because what happens if you accidentally good morning it? If you go in there and you round your back too early, or you shouldn't round your back at all, but let's just say you round your back in the hole, then you start going up with your hips shoot up, and it's just going to look terrible. Yeah, talking about terrible lifts. 95 kilo bench. It wasn't perfect in form, but I'm still happy that I did complete the lift today, as I failed 2 times before. So I was happy with that. Because what we have to remember is 95 is my lifetime personal record. and I hit 95 on Tuesday. And on Monday, I hit a lifetime personal record overhead press, and yesterday, on Wednesday, I matched that lifetime record overhead press. So, even if I failed these lifts today, the fact that I got the third attempt means that I actually got stronger as compared to a week prior, for example. Now, the 2 failed attempts, though, did make the back-off work more challenging, but I don't think that was an issue today, as I do feel like I grooved it pretty well, except for on the last rep, where I hit the upright. The upright, or the J-hook, or whatever, is that little metal thing at the top there that holds the bar in place. And hitting it on the way up is a sign of 2 things. Either you're simply set up too high up on the bench, like you should probably move down further on the bench, but more often than not, it is due to weak triceps. Weak triceps make the bar drift towards your face. So that is the reason that happened to me today. Deadlift, 135 kilos. It wasn't the best lift, but I learned a lesson. Look at my arms. They're bent. I also have a very slight amount of back bend, and I can't lock it out perfectly. So, well, I probably could if I was forced to, but I didn't. And I figured something out here today. I said, how can I stop doing this arm bend shit? Basically, just how can I stop bending my arm on deadlifts? So I told myself, what happens if I do rows but start with a straight arm? And I did that, and it was a lot more challenging for my lower back and more challenging for my hamstrings. But it did feel a lot better in terms of back angles. I was able to keep a flat back today for pretty much all the rowing reps. Not quite, but the vast majority of them. And if you compare that to previously, in this same training cycle even, I haven't been able to keep my back flat. So it also wasn't as difficult on the biceps, but it was more difficult on the traps. It was more difficult on the traps, and it was pretty difficult on the rear delts and on the lats as well, to start with a slightly more spread scapula and to start with straight arms. But I need to work on this, and unfortunately, or not unfortunately, but one of the reasons my deadlift looks bad, one of the reasons I have arm bend, is because the arm bend compensates for all of my weaknesses, right? Because straight arms makes it more difficult for the lower back, which is a weak link, more difficult on the hamstrings, which is a weak link, and more difficult on the grip, which is a weak link. So it's pretty clear why I bend my arms as well as bend my back on maximum deadlift attempts. And really, if you were to be smart about it, if this was a long-term thing, I would back down my deadlifts, my Saturday deadlifts, the heavy deadlifts. I would back them down a bit and slowly work them back up. But at this point, I'm already behind and on my goals for this year, and I just have to figure this out and work through the problem while I'm in the problem, if that makes sense. I can't redo everything because I don't have time to. So while I'm failing, I have to figure out a way to win. Right? It's going to be interesting, but I think I can do it. And a large part of it I'm already doing in terms of adjusting my rowing technique, which will build the weak muscles even more, adding glute bridges, adding good mornings, and continuing to work on my Nordic hamstring curls. So also keep continuing to do the grip work with like the double overhand holds. So since I took out the power clean, I've had a little difficulties with grip, but I don't think it's the fact that I took out the power clean. I think it's the fact that I put the deadlift in place of it. And really, that isn't a bad thing. Because what I've noticed is the heavy deadlift that I do right now, the 135, which is about 90% of my absolute mega 1 rep max. So 90% of my absolute max is around 135. I would put my absolute max at around 150 right now. But my point is, doing a heavy deadlift like that fatigues my grip slightly more than this other stuff that I was doing, aka power cleans. So it's an interesting ride, but you know what? Right now my deadlift is behind, and my deadlift builds my squat. I know that because they have the same weaknesses. The squat and the deadlift for me right now can both use more spine erector, and they can both use more glute, and they can both use more hamstring. So it's just about continuing to stay consistent and trust the process and put in work and adjust where necessary. And these are things that I have been doing, but it's very, 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 very important that I continue to be focused on my form, because bad form with the exercises that I'm doing works completely different muscles, and not only that, it has a much higher injury risk. So if you look here, I tried to do this with straight arms. Look at my back angle. I actually failed this the first attempt because my back just is so weak in that position. But anyway, look at the back angle with straight arms. Look at that. Alright? It's my lower back, I think that's what I said. But basically, if I would have had a stronger lower back, I would have been able to deadlift and pull from a much safer position for the lower back, if that makes sense. So here I wasn't in that perfect position, but I was still in a good position. And the issue though here is weak grip. I was like, fuck, I was disappointed today. 120, I can't even hold it properly. Not happy with that at all. Not happy. Because that means that holding 150 at the end of this week for an absolute maximum deadlift, even though it's going to be mixed grip, is going to be difficult. According to my math, it is going to be rather challenging to hold on to the bar properly, and that means that there's going to be arm bend present, and I'm going to get all the technical difficulties, all the technical, not difficulties, but all the technical faults, all the technical, basically, my technique is going to be bad and terrible. Not even bad, it's going to be terrible on Saturday. But I'm going to do everything in my power to make sure that I can minimize the risks. Because deadlifting like this, which like I'm going to do on Saturday, and like I've been doing the past several Saturdays, with really heavy weights, with really bad form, there's an injury risk there. It is there. And I can't really back down the weight right now, because that would require me to basically, that would fuck up my training program. My squat would go down, my deadlift would go down, I have to restart different cycles, I wouldn't get to certain goals before the summer break, and I got a certain run goal during the summer break that I'm going to work on, so that's going to be compromised, and then the training cycle after the summer break is going to be compromised as well. And then, if there comes a national championship, I won't be as strong, as healthy, as athletic that I could be. So that is why I'm not backing down my weights. That's why I'm not taking deloads and rest days and blah, blah, blah. I need to stay on the path to victory. Now, I need to do more work. I need to do more stuff to get there than I had anticipated. But that is a part of the game. Alright, that is a part of the game. Because getting stronger isn't easy. And we keep forgetting this. It's like I just put 7.5 kilos on my bench press, and it wasn't that difficult. So I'm cocky on the bench press right now, but pretty soon I'm going to realize, holy shit, to put another 7.5, that's where the real challenge lies. So it isn't as easy as it sounds oftentimes to get stronger. And even if we can get stronger, we might only be able to get 5 or 10% stronger. What happens when you want to get 20% stronger, right? What happens when you have a 100 kilo bench press and you want to take it to 120? That is difficult, right? Getting to 105, that might only take, a couple months, a couple short months. It might be a month and a half or 2 months of a hard bench press training program, take a week off after that, and then boom, now you can hit 105. But putting a lot of strength, a lot of weight, a lot of muscle on is very difficult. Alright? And that's what I'm doing right now. The goals for this training cycle are 140 kilo deadlift. 140 kilo squat, which means that I need to put 20 more kilos on my squat. a 105 kilo bench press, which means I need to put 10 more kilos on my bench press, as well as a 170 kilogram deadlift, which means that I need to put 22.5 kilos on my current deadlift. So these goals are very difficult, and I don't know how many more weeks I have because I'm bad at math, but it isn't many. It isn't many at all. And that's why I'm working on good mornings, for example, so that I can build those muscles that are weak, so that I can get what I need to get and be what I need to be. It's going to be work. It's going to take a lot of work. It's going to be painful. I'm not going to want to do it. I don't want to do it. I don't like training right now, for the most part. It's not like I hate it at all, but it is a bit of a chore, absolutely. But that is a part of the process. And when I get to 105 kilo bench press, 140 kilo squat, and 170 kilo deadlift, it's all going to be worth it. Until I have to do another training cycle. But that, I'm going to try not to get in the mindset of thinking of the future that much, because that's how you burn yourself out. Thinking of the future, worrying, right? It's often not the actual work that gets you. It's the work, but the knowledge that the work isn't going to stop. That's what gets you. And then that mental fatigue carries over into physical. But I'm not there yet, man. I'm doing good right now. So I just got to focus on gaining a bit more weight, because the last couple of days had some difficulties eating, lost some weight. I'm on my way back up now. I don't know what happened, but my appetite took a bit of a hit for no apparent reason. Even eating during Easter, like I was eating all the candy, everything, all the sweets, really, I should say, because I'm not British. I'm British. I'm not American, so I probably should say should say sweets. It just sounds kind of silly. But yeah, I was eating all sorts of sweets, chocolates, nice stuff, all this like amazing Easter food as well. And despite that, meatballs, despite that, I still lost weight during Easter. I have no idea why. It's very difficult to comprehend what my body's doing sometimes. But I don't have a magic body. It's a case of appetite, and it's a case of eating more than I burn. So I'm on my way to getting back into that streak and continuing to make progress, and I'll see you guys tomorrow.